Yep, that's me. You are probably wondering how I ended up in this situation, trapped in a spaceship on my way to a horrible wasteland on behalf of a slave corporation. Well, you will learn it soon enough. Terraforming an entire planet is a gargantuan task, and for most people, it basically means to die in the process, stranded in the sands of a foreign planet. And even more so, I must do it in 100 days and go from a dusty old rock to a beautiful planet covered in green and blue and full of wildlife. It will be difficult, but luckily enough, I am not alone in this challenge. So hop in, grab a snack, and buckle up, because we are terraforming Planet Crafter in 100 days. We landed on the planet with a standard toolgun, a backpack, and some food and water to sustain ourselves for a couple days. It became apparent really quickly that we needed to gather as many materials as we could to begin the construction of our base of operations, and provided that we could have a safe oxygen supply, then we could start our terraforming efforts. Firstly, we needed to focus on these three attributes: pressure, oxygen, and heat. Every machine that produces one of those three things needs to be powered by electricity or some form of energy, so it was time to get our hands dirty and get on it. We first constructed some wind turbines to get some energy pumping, and with that, the first drills were installed next to the landing site. Scavenging the wildlands of this hostile planet wasn't easy, as oxygen rapidly depleted and who knows what was lurking in the distance. There was a huge spaceship that had crashed on the nearby mountain, but our oxygen tanks weren't powerful enough to guarantee a two-way trip there. We decided to construct our base on top of the nearest hill, and we set up the first screens to gain some intel on what we were working with. Energy readings, unlockables, and most importantly, the terraformation progress screen, which indicated us that we needed 175,000 Ti to reach the first stage of terraformation. Okay, let's check. So far we got 200 or so. Yikes. Anyways, our first days consisted on gathering materials, constructing drills and wind turbines, escalating them to T2 drills and solar panels, and trying to learn how to build heaters and veggie tubes. We needed iridium for the heaters, a rock that we hadn't found yet, and although we could build the veggie tubes, we had no seeds to put inside them. So for now, we were stuck with pressure. We upgraded our backpacks and oxygen tanks and felt confident enough to explore the giant starship, and look at that! We found exactly the two things we needed: iridium and seed plants. So back in the base, we built heaters and completed our veggie tubes, and since we already unlocked a communication antenna, it was about time we gathered the materials to build it. That was the way in which we could communicate with Sentinel Corp, the evil enterprise that put us on terraformation duty in the first place. We expanded our base a little bit, filled up our small crates, and ended up the first week having reached 15,000 Ti. After creating an indoor ladder, expanding our terraformation output, and doing silly dances for a while, we crafted a T2 heater and the progress screen, which indicated that a blue sky was awaiting us when we reached enough Ti. To achieve that, we need to construct more T2 heaters, T2 solar panels to get enough energy to power them, explore and gather materials, create a food grower to have a reliable food supply in our base, and above everything else, constructing a T3 drill, which would generate amounts of pressure unbeknownst to us at that point. Soon enough, we looked amazed at the blue sky, which had already lightened up the mood quite a bit. This made us click to make us fully commit to the terraformation of this planet. So, what is the next step? That's creating clouds. And we need a lot of Ti for that. Fortunately, we just unlocked the advanced crafting station and our 2-deck base is looking real cool with all those windows. This crafting station lets us synthesize more complex materials such as the iridium rods, the uranium rods, and rocket engines. And you might ask, why the heck do you need rocket engines for? Well, that's for the rockets we will launch from our space platform, of course, you silly. And we will do just that. But to make our Apollo mission possible, we first need to explore and create a lot of outposts to gather superalloys, aluminium, iridium, and uranium. And on the way, perhaps we encountered some crashed spaceships with lots of valuables inside. And so, having gathered everything we needed, we prepared for the launch of our first asteroid attraction rocket, and it was a stunning sight to see. Hopefully, on day 100 we will be able to escape in a rocket just like that, with Soka, Oro, Hueskis, and myself. But for now, we will have to be satisfied with our first successful launch and the formation of clouds in the atmosphere. With our first launch, the terraformation index started to build up rapidly and we soon entered the rain stage, which would be the foundation stone to bring water into the planet. Everyone worked against the clock to gather materials and upgrade equipment to carry more items, travel faster and breathe for longer. A nuclear reactor powered almost our whole operation. Slowly but surely, we expanded our base, creating a ton of big iron lockers to house all the goodies we found in our exploration trips, and we also suffered the occasional power outage every once in a while. Although things were rough, we were managing to do just fine, and we celebrated with renovated optimism when we reached 1 MTI, a huge milestone for our terraformation project, and all of that was done in less than a month. Soka designed jetpacks which we could use to fly around and explore new places, Hueskis mined like crazy in search of new ores that we could experiment with, and Oro and I invented a water collector that would gather water bottles after each rainfall. Progress was accelerating at an exponential rate, as the initial crashing site began to flood, and we developed a satellite map rocket that would give us something really valuable, a map of the entire region of the planet. Thanks to it, we could see a meteor crash site on the distance, a volcanic region, and kilometers of pure desert. We were really close on getting to the liquid water stage, and we just discovered how to build extraction or machines, which would fasten up the gathering of iridium, aluminium, and other elusive materials. However, tragedy struck out of nowhere. Soka, our trustful engineer that had designed our jetpacks, stopped dropping by our base for a couple of days. We began to worry since he usually didn't stay on an outpost for that long, but we decided that he probably lost track of time, and that was it. We continued our construction efforts, and Hueskis decided to build some extraction machines on the nearby iridium caves, when suddenly we heard a terrible scream in the distance. We rushed to Hueskis' side, and the three of us discovered Soka's remains, devoid of life. A boulder had fallen onto him, breaking his right leg and trapping him in the iridium cave until the oxygen ran out. We were devastated, and each of us secluded themselves in separate areas of the base, mourning the loss of our dear friend. After a couple of days, we decided that enough was enough and that Soka's loss should make us determined to succeed in our terraformation efforts. It is what he would have wanted, we said. So we gave it our all and kept exploring, expanding and improving our machinery, getting vegetubes that could be supported outside of our base. We even explored regions that were really far away, and the extraction of machines that Hueskis constructed were critical to ensure us enough materials to support our whole operation. And with my improved designs on nuclear reactors, we secured enough energy supply to last for months without having to worry. At this point, our initial crashing site had flooded completely, so we discussed the possibility of building biological structures to provide us with a good foundation for the next stages of the project. And with that, we constructed a biolab on the 3rd floor of our base and a biodome. The next days I spent some time with Oro to explore some spaceships that we hadn't fully covered earlier, and also dismount all our drills that were in the initial crashing site, now flooded and inoperative. We moved them to land and repaired them, and having reached the moss stage, it only made sense to construct a collector that would give us water straight from the nearby lake, and also alga generators, to accelerate the pace at which wildlife would emerge in the new bodies of water scattered through the planet. Rockets were still a critical piece of our operation, and they helped us spread and multiply pressure, heat and oxygen throughout the region as fast as possible. But it would be a lie to say that we weren't impressed at how well things were going. 25 MTIs, a steady growth into a terraformed planet, and still almost 60 days until our 100-day deadline expired. Things were going according to plan, and so we decided to have some fun. And speaking of fun, now awards of today's sponsor. Wait, Hueskis. There isn't one? Well, then this segment is sponsored by Wild Rush, your trusted YouTube gaming channel focused on hard challenges, speed running, and the occasional guide. I would love to remind you that subscribing helps out a lot, liking the video tells us we did a good job, and we're delighted to hear your thoughts in the comment section. So give us a helping hand, will you? Anyways, back to the video. 700 MTIs later, our planet was covered full in grass and trees that were already on their way. We kept exploring the nearby sites and found a beautiful star-covered field with aluminium and superalloys everywhere, a pretty osmium cave, and we also gathered some quartz, which won't be for any use of now, but they will be in the future. We also explored the sand cascade pit and the forest on the other side of the crashing side lake. We were able to expand our map thanks to the newest GPS satellites that we launched into the atmosphere. While exploring, we reached 1 GTI, a huge milestone for our objective, and at the same time we found an iridium meteor that had crashed and was full of iridium rods. Sweet! We launched a couple of rockets to keep up the pace, brought our first T3 heater into existence, and we added a couple of nuclear reactors to support the whole operation. Surpassing day 50, trees grew throughout the planet, offering some breathtaking landscapes to admire. We launched the most advanced GPS satellite we could build to have a complete understanding of our surroundings, and we also spread the trees around our lovely base. However, there was some kind of problem with the extraction of machines that Hueskis had set up a couple of weeks ago, so I decided to go check them up, and to my horror, I couldn't find Hueskis anywhere. But next to the machines there was a note that read, "Guys, I decided that this is not worth it. We will not be able to make it in 100 days, and I've got a lot of stuff to edit for Wild Rush. I decided to end things quietly, my way. See you, Space Cowboys." We were crushed. Only Oro and I remained, and even though we managed to almost reach 4 GTI, we were about to enter the insect stage, we weren't sure if we were going to make it. After all, only 2 people terraforming a planet wasn't an ideal scenario for optimism. However, we decided to buckle up and continue our work, exploring the remaining crashed spaceships and deconstructing servers to get circuit boards. We constructed more machinery and gathered lots of materials from some caves up on the north, and we also finally decided to pay a visit to the volcano area, which was full of iridium, obsidian and other raw materials. The terraformation index kept going up at a good pace, but past the 5 GTI mark some strange coordinates appeared on our comms, which we found really odd. Well, it didn't hurt to check them out, so we decided to go out there, equipping ourselves with food, water and oxygen, and what we found was beyond our imagination. There was a whole subterranean biome under the region of this planet, full of glowing purple lights, giant mushrooms and... wait, are these wooden and stone structures? They looked ancient, that's for sure. And what is this weird device? A Warden key? What the hell is that? We didn't know then, but we were about to make the biggest discovery in our brief lives. We found an altar and used a strange device to open a secret door that conducted to an ancient temple, perhaps from another civilization? We crossed those dusty halls in fear, reading the tragic history of the Wardens, a persecuted species that decided to hide here a long time ago. At the end of the hallway, we found the spaceships in which they came to this planet. It was mind-boggling. But how come we hadn't encountered any of them? This place sure held some deep, dark secrets. That was for sure. Back to our base, Oro and I decided what to do next. We found another of those strange keys, and after thinking about it for a while, we remembered that in our superalloy outpost there was a wall that resembled the ancient structure that we had found earlier. We went there to check the place, and just like that, another secret entrance to a sealed and forbidden place appeared. This time, Oro and I found the remains of a really old Warden city. We made our way onto the depths of the place, only to find a terrible, devastating truth. In the middle of a wide wall, a giant light sphere floated, apparently harmless, but we knew how dangerous it was. We learned that the sphere was an orbital drainage and they're responsible for the crashing of all those spaceships. When the orb detected a spacecraft dangerously close to the Warden's planet, it activated and drained all the energy and combustible of any spaceship in its radius, making them crash into the planet. That was the terrible answer to why we found so many spaceship wrecks in this planet. We were definitely in danger, so we decided to go back to our base and keep expanding our operation to terraform the planet as soon as possible. We had reached 750 GTI, and the insect stage was practically upon us, and even though the sacred Warden place had given us another set of coordinates, we decided to hold off on them for a while until we were prepared to keep exploring. We decided to gather up enough supplies to last outside of our base for a whole month, and we went straight up to where the coordinates indicated we would find the next altar, and after searching for a while, we got to it. We danced a little bit while the ancient rocks crumbled, and a path opened to visit yet again an ancient Warden place. This Warden city was covered in trees and had beautiful colors all around it, and it was truly a stunning sight to see. However, given the horrors we had encountered previously, we proceeded with caution, exploring every nook and cranny of each building in search for an answer. Where did all that people go? Why hadn't we encountered anyone on this desolated planet? How had they survived until now? After finding a secret passage, we went down a corridor and finally we got an answer. And it was as tragic as it gets. The Wardens discovered that a giant meteor was scheduled to crash onto the planet, and that it was inevitable, that it would wipe out their entire civilization. Tired of running, most of them decided to stay and vanish alongside everything they worked for. We also found strange golden butterflies from their home planet, and we decided to pay our respects by putting them in our butterfly dome and letting them grow and cover the entire planet. Now we knew what happened to the Wardens. It was time for us to keep working and escape this damned place. T4 drills, DNA synthesizers, butterfly domes. We expanded quite a bit for the next days, reinvigorated by the fact that the next step in our plan was to make the atmosphere breathable. There was almost enough oxygen now to make it possible. The crown of the jewel was the new trading rocket outpost we had built, which let us thank to our pen pal Riley trade Terra tokens for goods that weren't available on our planet, and that could contribute greatly to the terraformation effort. Oro found something incredible in one of his journeys, a giant complex set of quartz caves, full to the brim with quartz made of every single color imaginable. On day 70, we had our own industrial revolution, unlocking all sorts of technology we never dreamt to achieve before in this dusty rock. Teleporters, drones that could gather materials automatically, explosives, advanced heaters, drills, and also veggie tubes. Our terraformation index was rushing to get us out of this planet, sitting at 50 GTI, and above all, the atmosphere now had breathable air, so all those oxygen tanks weren't needed anymore. Oro was really eager to try the teleportation machine, but I had my reservations. We connected the mainframe on our base with an outpost that we had constructed nearby the volcano area to facilitate the commute between those regions. Oro said that we had made enough safety checks, but I wasn't sure of it. Since he insisted so much, I decided to let go of it and let him try out the teleportation machine first. He got inside the tube. He got a quick scan done, and purple sparks emerged from the machine as an immense amount of energy was poured into it. But something was not right. Suddenly, an alarm went off, and the purple sparks began to intensify, and there was a big explosion, and Oro vanished. Did it work? Did the teleportation machine work? I went to the volcano outpost myself, on foot, but there was no one there. Afraid I just lost my last friend in this whole planet, I searched everywhere. Rivers, cliffs, caves, lakes, deserts, mountains, but to no avail, until I found a set of tunnels blocked by debris, and suddenly a spark of hope lighted up. Could Oro be there? I grabbed some explosives to clear the path, and I found a beautiful forest of red trees and lots of interesting materials, but there was no one to share them. I had been left alone, stranded in this lonely planet. Well, I wouldn't let that depress me. My determination had to be as high as ever. I had made up my mind. Either I escaped this terraformed planet or my life would get claimed by it. I spent 10 days working on the base, spreading trees, constructing more heaters, gas extractors, and everything necessary to reach the fish and amphibian stage. Sitting at 500 GTA, I knew that I had to step up things during the last 2 weeks before the deadline, but even then I couldn't resist to build a portal that would connect me with other regions of the planets, with the hope that I would find ore there. I never did, but grabbed some raw materials and ores while I was there, and at this point, drones did most of the heavy lifting at the base, and I could just focus on maximize the terraformation index. Reaching 1 TTI was a huge milestone, and with only 10 days to go, I combined genetic traits to create animal shelters, aquariums, and more stuff to fill up the planet with aliens. Well, yeah, alien wildlife, I guess you could say. I admired what we had achieved. This once dusty, old, lifeless planet had converted itself into a place vibrant with wildlife, trees, fish, frogs, butterflies, and truly a stunning landscape to see. I reached Sentinel Corp and they told me that once I arrived at 5 TTA, they would send the blueprints for an extraction rocket to get me out of the planet. So my goal was clear. T5 heaters, T5 drills, animal rockets, insect rockets, plant rockets. Every machine needed to go full force if I wanted to get to 5 TTI before day 100. I kept expanding the base, making things run automatically thanks to drones and autocrafters, and soon enough I had reached 3 TTI, and then I received an unsettling message. Someone told me that Sentinel Corp wouldn't hold the end of their bargain, and once I had terraformed the planet, they would imprison me regardless. With the message, a special blueprint came attached, with a special chip that could reveal invisible things. Well, there was no harm in checking it out, so I equipped the chip and did one last trip around the planet that I had called home for the last 95 days. I used the ultimate jetpack for it, the T4 jetpack, which would have made Soka proud. I was flying through the desert, taking it all in, when suddenly a golden altar appeared with a Warden key on it. Could that be what the message referred to? I kept flying around the planet and found almost a dozen of keys, but I had no use for them right now, so I decided I would take them with me once this was over. Finally, on day 98, I reached 5 TTA and the blueprints of the extraction platform were sent to me. I constructed it in no time, and that was it. My chance to leave this planet, terraformed completely. I had made it. However, something was wrong. The rocket launch didn't work, as there was still something preventing me to escape this planet. That's right, the anomaly sphere that Wardens had created eons ago was draining the energy on the rocket, and if I had tried to escape on it, I would rapidly crash in the planet again. There was no way around it. I had to destroy it. And to do just that, I prepared enough gunpowder to craft a big, chunky explosive, big enough to make the whole Warden city crumble. I went into the depths of the anomaly sphere, placed the explosive, activated it, and I ran for my life. A big explosion ensued and rocks began to fall, structures collapsed behind me as I fled out and returned to my base. And alas, with just 1 day remaining, just like that, I packed my things and decided to get all the Warden keys I gathered onto my rocket. I decided to betray Sentinel Corp and trust the message I had received, fearing that if I did not, a life in prison was awaiting me. I entered the spacecraft, activated its mainframe, and then, suddenly, a nation portal opened above me. The Warden keys shined with a bright light, and just like that, I traversed the portal to the unknown, in search of the Wardens, as only they would understand the loss I suffered in this planet that I finally left behind. And that is how you terraform a planet in 100 days. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Planet Crafters 1.0 is an absolute blast to play, and it is even more fun with friends, so I definitely recommend you to give it a try. I also can't wait to see what interesting things they may add in the future, so I guess I'll keep an eye on it. Until we meet again, astronaut.